everybody, it's Kelly Beezer, and today we are talking about blemish removal and the various tools that you can use to remove small flaws and why you might pick one tool over another. I'm going to preface this with the fact that I am with my parents today, and maybe even more so than my children. They make some noise and they don't understand how screen recordings work. So if you hear them in the background, just roll with it. Okay, so obviously, looking at this portrait of this girl, she has pretty much flawless skin. Um, yeah, we can all just congratulate her on that right now. But if we zoom way in, like this, we can see there are a couple extremely minor spots that you would only notice if you were zoomed in this much. No one would ever zoom in this much. But because I want her to love her photos and feel her best, I will go ahead and remove these very small spots. That being said, if you ask somebody how they like to remove a spot in Photoshop, you're going to get 10 different answers from 10 different photographers. And so let's talk about what options you have. The first one right here is going to be the Spot Healing Brush Tool. And this is what I would call a smart tool. It is a one click and you're done. We're always going to work on a duplicate background layer. So press Command J. And then we're just going to come in here. We're going to make your brush just a smidge bigger than the spot. And you're just going to click it. And it's gone. What that does, and this will maybe a little bit shadow this. You could click it again. That would be what I would see as the main downside of using that tool, is that sometimes you get a little shadow. Also, you're totally trusting Photoshop to make decisions for you. Usually that works out. Photoshop is extremely smart. There are algorithms and mathematics and science behind why it knows where to pull from. But if you're like me and you like to have control, you might want to choose a different tool. And the next step up would be the healing brush tool. And this is very similar. They even made the icons very similar. This is very similar to the spot healing brush tool. But what you're going to do is you're going to tell Photoshop where you want the new information to come from. So you're going to press Option, and you see it turns into a target, right? And that just means that's where you want Photoshop to heal from. And then you can kind of see, like if I go somewhere else, it looks like it's just going to clone that spot. But what it's going to do is it's going to kind of read the information very quickly and heal it. And you could do it again. I can get my target. I want it to be here. But even then, you can kind of still see a shadow. So, let's go backwards a little bit. Now we're back to where we started. So again, those tools are very fast. They're very smart. What you relinquish in control, you gain in efficiency. So I use those all the time. But honestly, for this situation where we'd be so far zoomed out, again, we're at 221% here. I would probably go ahead and use those and not really worry about those shadows. But if you want to have more control, and this is probably the tool I'm going to use most often, we're going to the patch tool. And this is where you select the exact area that you want to replace. So let's come to this little spot, right? And here's where I'm going to kind of limit that shadow, because I'm like, oh no, I don't want you just to stop here. I want you to kind of fix all of this. And then we're going to drag it to an area that is kind of a clean version of what we want. And then we can just press Command D to deselect it. And do you see how there's no shadow there now? And it's just kind of totally disappeared. Amazing, right? That's the one that I find myself going to over and over again, because it gives me a lot of control. It gives, it just cleans it up kind of flawlessly. It kind of blends it all together. It's not actually copying pixels, but it is doing a really good job of, drawing the information from other pixels and making it kind of blend together with what's existing there that you want to replace. I'm going to show you the downside of the patch tool, though. You can sometimes get wonky edges. So I'm going to do something that you would never do. Let's say we want to replace this spot, and I drag it down here, and then I press deselect, and you can kind of see, first of all, the texture got weird, and then you can kind of see this border here. First of all, it's because I selected an area and then dragged it to an area that is at a different focal length. And Photoshop was like, okay, what do you want to do here? But sometimes even when you're drawing from places that you think look like a good replacement, it can kind of do this. It can kind of just get a little bit confused. So you might want to go back to the spot healing brush tool. You might want to go back to the healing brush tool. You might want to blend a few of them together. Or you might just want to go backwards and be like, oh, maybe it would be better if I just went here. And it is. The final tool that you might use for healing an area would be this guy, the clone stamp tool. And what this is doing is it's actually, you're going to press command and you see that target again. But now what you're doing is you're actually copying these exact pixels onto here. Now, what I love about this is you can control your hardness and softness. So if I bring that softness down to 0%, if I make that size just a smidgen bigger, and look, now if I come here, I am seeing exactly what I'm placing there. And it's gone, right? So if you know that you don't even want to bother blending, you want to replace those pixels, you want to completely eliminate that little blemish or whatever you see there, that might be the tool for you. And again, with that super soft edge, you're never going to see that harsh line. Again, if you're at 100% hardness, let's just go ahead and do all the wrong things today. You can come here, and then you're going to have a circle there. Obviously, that is not better. So yeah, keep that hardness down at 0%. That can be a really effective way to remove, those trickier flaws. Most often, I'm using a combination of all 4 of these tools. Sometimes I use them layered on top of each other. Sometimes I just find tricky spots that need one over the other. But those are the ones that you're going to find you go to over and over again. You're going to find most photographers go to them over and over again. And it's just going to clean things up. My personal rule, oh my gosh, this girl's really gorgeous, isn't she? Wow. Look at those eyebrows. Sorry, I got distracted by the beauty. Where was I even? Oh, my rule for removing blemishes. If it's going to be there in 2 weeks, it stays. So scars, freckles, moles, birthmarks, all of those beautiful little, quote unquote flaws or imperfections. Again, I don't even like either of those words. All those beautiful little unique spots on us that make us us, those stay. A pimple will be gone in 2 weeks. Happy to remove it. A scratch, okay, we can get rid of it. But wrinkles, moles, freckles, all those little things, that's what makes us beautiful and unique and human. So those stay. That is my personal take on it. You just have to do what's right for you. That being said, hopefully you learned a little something new about the options available to you in Photoshop. It's an incredible, powerful program and can really help you create the art that you want and help keep your clients incredibly happy. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I am always here and happy to help. Have a good one, everybody.